big news about loot boxes, and more coming up on today's episode of the latest in tech news. Hey Gadget here, you're just in time for the latest episode of the world's only 3-in-1 show on tech, gadgets, and gaming news. That's right, this is the latest in tech news. My name is Taylor American. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss out on the latest news. We do this on the daily, so we'd hate for you to miss an episode. And speaking of the opposite of hate, which is to love or like, I don't know. What is there a difference between love and like? Who knows nowadays anymore. But speaking of what's to like, if you're watching this video via YouTube, hold off on that like button until you get to a part of the show that you actually like, and as well as be sure to share this show with friends, but only those you trust. See, we're not looking for any old person, somebody you can trust. I understand everybody has their friends they like to tell news and stories to and be like, hey, I heard about this, or hey, I heard about that, being like the source of information. But then there's some people where it's like, I don't want to really tell you that, but there's some people that you do. Take your pick. I will leave the choosing up to you as to who you will share this with, and welcome if you are here because of a suggestion. So, speaking of what else there is to like, we'll be taking a look at Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo agreeing to disclose loot box odds, which is by far what everybody's been whining about today. Or not necessarily whining, just talking about. So we'll be getting into that in just a couple of minutes. We'll also be taking a look at Google Fiber being introduced to Austin, Texas. Also, well, Samsung's Galaxy Note 10 event happened, and we got all the juicy details for you. We're also going to be taking a look at a 9-year-old Nigerian builds more than 30 mobile games, and finally we'll be taking a look at World of Warcraft Classic getting one more test before launch, and introducing a really interesting feature that I might as well let you guys know about. But before we get to that, let's head on over to Today in Tech History. Alright, being that today is August 7th, 2019, on this day in history, in 1944, IBM presents Harvard University their Automatic Sequence Controlled Calculator, the ASCC, an electromechanical computer devised by Howard Aiken and built by IBM. Harvard renamed it, because who wants to call it the ASCC, the Harvard Mark I. The Mark I was not significant for technological advances, as the fully electronic ENIAC was being constructed when the Mark I was being put into service. However, the Mark I was the first large-scale digital calculator ever built and served to spark the desire for more and better computing machines, and hopefully saving on the size, because if you looked at the Harvard Mark I, it took up a warehouse. And now, that warehouse fits right here, palm of your hand. Isn't technology great? Well, with that out of the way, let's head on over to today's feature story. Alright, feature story. Loot boxes. Yep, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo agreed to disclose loot box odds, and this is, I guess, big news in the video game industry, because this is something that has been akin to gambling in other countries and banned forthright in other countries, and debated about between politicians for who knows how long at this point. It's actually getting annoying. You see, loot boxes have been a source of controversy in recent years, but not really. It's always been a controversy because it's always like, why do they have to be like tied to microtransaction type things? Now, they offer gamers a way to snag virtual items, but because the rewards are typically randomized and players can buy them with real money, they've been called as a form of gambling. Now, some jurisdictions have banned them completely and others have looked into them. The games industry is attempting to soothe those concerns. Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo have agreed to disclose the odds of obtaining highly sought-after gear inside loot boxes. They'll require all publishers of upcoming PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch games to reveal the chances of earning rare items. Some publishers do so already, and several others have agreed to make the disclosures in their forthcoming titles. Those who have signed up include Activision Blizzard, Bandai Namco, Bethesda, Bungie, EA, Take-Two Interactive, Ubisoft, Wizards of the Coast, and Warner Bros. Now, the initiative doesn't extend to other platforms, with PC being the major omission. Still, you can probably expect some publishers to disclose loot box odds there too. Gaming industry group, the Entertainment Software Association, which runs E3, announced the measure Wednesday at a Federal Trade Commission workshop on loot box consumer protection issues. The timeline of rolling out the disclosure is in flux, but Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft are hoping to have them in place by next year. And according to one of the senators who had a statement to make about it, said, "I'm encouraged that the video game industry has taken this important step forward to improve loot box transparency. I'll keep working to ensure that children are protected from the predatory and addictive effects of loot boxes in video games." I don't agree with that last remark because it just sounds like a really badly constructed sentence, but all that aside, what are your thoughts? I'd love to hear what you're thinking down below in the comments. If you could go ahead and post that if you're watching today's video. And here's one interesting thing. There's a game that I've been playing on mobile for like the past couple of months now. I've kind of taken a liking to it. Injustice 2. I know, initially when the game came out on the PlayStation, I played it on there, enjoyed it, had a great, ball of yarn and all that with it. And then when it came to mobile, I wasn't really interested all that much until rather recently. So I stayed away from Injustice 2 for like the longest time. And then I came back and I started playing, and I'm actually finally moving my way up in the levels and enjoying myself thoroughly. And see, the thing is that you can buy gems, and these gems allow you to purchase chests and loot boxes and gear and rewards and stuff like that. It's not just directly tied to like a loot box, but it kind of indirectly is. So be that as it may, what Injustice 2 has done is they've actually shown the odds. If you're going to click on a chest, it'll tell you the percent chance of getting either a rare character or rare character skin, and like a silver or gold class hero, whatever that may be, the particular box at that. So I'm actually kind of pleasantly not surprised that they've disclosed it. They've been doing this for like a while now too. It isn't just because of this announcement. And I sit there and I look at it, and then I wonder to myself, do I really want to roll a chance on this chest or loot box, as it were? And most of the time I go, no, not really. Here's the greater question you're probably wondering right now. How much money have you spent on Injustice 2? Nothing. Not a single thing. You want to know why? Because the system and mechanics they have in place allow you to earn gems so then I can redeem them. So obviously I'm very careful with the gems that I have. Same as if I would buy them with real money. But a little bit more so because they're free gems and I don't want to just throw them willy-nilly. So if I'm going to get a good % chance at getting something, I want to make sure I have a good chance enough-ish. But when it comes to loot boxes, I think it's probably a good thing. I don't know why people are making such a big deal out of it and why this is such big news, but it had to be covered. And if you happen to hear any noises in the background, I'm having fireworks in the neighborhood. They're having the National Night Out tonight in my area, so might as well celebrate, pop some fireworks. So yeah, final thoughts. I'm not really too concerned. What's the big deal with them concerning the % chance of having something drop? If you do it right, you can actually look at it and go, do I really want a 1% chance of getting what I want compared to a 75% chance of getting a silver to gold hero? No. Do I really want that hero? So obviously it kind of discourages wanting to actually buy it. Good. Maybe to some extent it'll help with this whole regulation and making governments happy and not encouraging kids into this gambling addiction thing, whatever it is. So hopefully it sorts itself out soon. Outside of that, as I said before, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Moving on to the next article we got lined up for today. By the way, if you're interested, the articles mentioned in today's show can be found at TechNewsGadget.net, part of the show notes that we have for you here today. And as a special feature for you listening via podcast, you can actually get direct links to the articles right in the show notes. Well, or the description, or however you get more information on today's show. You can get it right there, free of charge. It doesn't cost anything extra. All you do is tap and it'll load the article for you. So kudos to you if you're listening via the podcast. So Google Fiber will be bringing wireless gigabit internet to Austin. Now, Austin apartment dwellers will soon get another option for high-speed internet. Google Fiber announced that it is rolling out WebPass to the Texas city, making it the 8th metro area to offer the service. The point-to-point wireless offering is aimed at high-occupancy residential and commercial buildings and works by transmitting gigabit internet via rooftop antennas. Austin, which has had access to Google Fiber since 2014, will be the first city to host both high-speed internet options. Google's expansion of its main fiber internet service has been slow and riddled with setbacks. In a big restructuring in 2017, and this is probably why I haven't heard about it any time recently, which has kind of been frustrating because I'm like, Google Fiber, 1,000 up, 1,000 down, internet on all the time, and I swear there's a fly flying around the room, and if I find that fly, you can be flying right into my foot, okay? And that's nothing against, I'm not saying anything, but let's just say it's gonna go to fly heaven. So if you know what's good for you, don't come around this ring of fire. Anyways, the company announced that it would focus on its big wireless service due to the high cost of running fiber optic cables. Back in February, the gigabit internet provider pulled fiber out of Louisville after infrastructure challenges led to service issues. WebPass, which Google acquired in 2016, has faced its own obstacles. They pulled out of Boston last year and hasn't signed on a new city until now. The Google Fiber network in Austin is growing at a slower pace than residents and officials expected, according to Austin Business Journal. The service is only available at 28 city-owned buildings. Luckily for the Texas capital, the wet setup of WebPass should go more smoothly since it is wireless, and it'll be faster and cheaper to build a network of underground, well, compared to a network of underground fiber optic cables, but still, WebPass is fairly fast. So even if it isn't exactly Google Fiber, it's good enough. So let me know if you live in the Austin area and you're looking forward to this and using it. I don't know. I've always been a proponent of faster internet for everybody, more even speeds. I mean, I don't know about you, but I hate 500 down and 100 up. And then in reality, it actually turns into like, well, maybe I'm being a little bit too generous with the numbers. But even still looking at something like 200 down and 20 up, and you're like, I wish those numbers were more even. I mean, what about 200 down, 200 up? Is it really that difficult for upload speeds? I mean, I can understand the reason why, but can you give a certain offering if you're, say, an internet provider and a person comes to you and says, I'm a content creator on, Twitch or Mixer or YouTube, and I really need the high speed upload, and I need it to match my download speed. Can we work out a deal? And the internet service provider goes, no, you get what everybody else has. And you go, yeah, but I'd be willing to pay you more. And they go, no. And then they go, well, why not? 'Cause I said so. Well, guess I'm going home. I'm going to bed without dinner tonight. Thanks, internet service provider. I don't know, but seriously, why is this such a problem? Let me know down in the comments if you've experienced the same problem myself. I actually upgraded the internet here at my house recently, and I actually benefit from the higher upload and download speeds, which are just desperately needed. My computer was just plugging along because of the internet speeds. My computer can handle the power. It's just the internet is needed to be upgraded. So, yeah, with that out of the way, I think that sums it up. Let's head on over to the next article. All right, we got some gadget news for you guys. Samsung's Galaxy Note 10 event dropped, and as predicted, I covered something before, and I covered another thing before, and it turns out it was all covered here. So it's essentially going to be a recap then, is it not? So at its Galaxy Unpacked event today in Brooklyn, Samsung unveiled the latest additions to its Galaxy Note lineup, the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus. Unlike prior Note releases, Samsung's phone comes in two sizes to suit user preferences. The Note 10's display is 6.3 inches, and the Note 10 Plus, with a display that measures at a whopping 6.8 inches, is Samsung's largest phone screen to date. It's honking massive. I mean, if you wanted to be able to see crystal clear whatever you're looking at on your phone, this will give it to you. So, if you're wondering, hey, are you looking at something on the screen right now? Yeah, you're probably listening to the podcast version. If you want to get the video show, head on over to youtube.com/TechNewsGadget. Moving on, Samsung president and CEO DJ Koh in the keynote made the point that future innovations wouldn't be just about devices, but also new services and ecosystems. That being said, as devices, the Note 10 and 10 Plus hold up on their own. Both are packed with features and improvements not seen before in its predecessors, as well as a few significant omissions. Neither have the Bixby button or a headphone jack. The larger Note 10 has 4 cameras on the back, including one specifically for AR video and drawing. Note 10's stylus, the S Pen, got a significant upgrade, including a 6-axis sensor that lets users take pictures, zoom in, and switch camera perspective with a gesture. Priced at $949, the Note 10 comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. The Note 10 Plus starts at, well, $1,100 with 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, or you could upgrade $100 more to get 512 gigabytes of storage. They're available in a prismatic color range, or a glow, or a white, and or a black. Aren't you glad I didn't say banana? I had to make that joke. I mean, you can only read an article for so long before you... Anyways, if you totally lost out on that joke, you done did lost out. Both phones are available to pre-order today and will be available for sale on August 23rd. Here's a rundown of all the major announcements from the Samsung Galaxy Unpacked event today. So here's a comparison side by side of the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus. With the release of its latest 2 phones in 2 different sizes, it's clear that Samsung wants to reach more people. Those that craved a supersized device that could double as a tablet for reading and drawing, and those that seek a more moderately priced, smaller option. Both feature what Samsung calls an Infinity O display, including a small punch-out circle to house the front camera. At 6.8 inches, the Note 10 Plus is Samsung's largest phone screen yet. As for a physical Bixby button or a 3.5mm headphone jack, they don't have it. Also, gamers can stream games right to their PC with the Play Galaxy Link P2P streaming service. You'll also be able to chat with other players with a new Discord integration. And, well, as for the Note 10, it could be a little bit more reasonably priced. Then they went over the new S Pen features, gesture controls, or air actions. This will let users activate shortcuts and perform specific actions by drawing shapes above the screen. The S Pen can now shrink, enlarge, or change the color of text, and you'll be able to export handwritten notes in different formats, including Microsoft Word and PDF. They're also opening up the S Pen to developers, so be on the lookout for that feature. And they have a new AR Doodle feature that lets the stylus double as a mixed reality paintbrush. And you can draw images directly on photos and video footage. Kind of fun there. The Samsung DeX is coming out, which will let you transfer files, reply to messages, and run mobile apps on your Mac or Windows PC. More integrations are underway, including the ability to make calls on your PC. And then, finally, yep, as I called it, the Samsung Galaxy Book S. Samsung also unveiled their new laptop. The company says the new computer, complete with a 13-inch touchscreen display, looks like a laptop but has the essence of a smartphone. Now, what that means in practice is that the Galaxy Book S includes a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8CX chip rather than the Intel processor you might expect, which is kind of interesting here, considering it has a built-in LTE connectivity as well. The laptop's battery lasts for 23 hours and can be charged via USB-C, so you can use the same battery charger as your Note 10 or many other smartphones. Interesting. Let's see how it all holds up. I don't know if it doesn't show here if they have any more specific details on it, but it looks to some extent kind of interesting. Can't wait to see it. All right, moving on to some more gadget news. There's, slash gaming news. Did you know that there's a 9-year-old living in Nigeria that has built more than 30 mobile games? And swear that fly came back. You totally missed it if you're listening to the podcast. I was flailing wildly on the screen. If you don't, I swear I'm gonna kill him after the show. I don't even care. If I have to say 2 rosaries and a Hail Mary to get over this, I certainly will. Okay. Seated in a stylish living room of a home in a suburb of Nigeria's commercial center, Lagos, Basil Okpara Jr. is tapping away on his laptop keyboard. The 9-year-old is building a hide-and-seek game using a free programming application called Scratch 2. Scratch 2 allows users to create games, animations, and stories online or off. So far, Basil has used it to generate more than 30 mobile games. Today's game involves a bat he has programmed to hide. The player gets the point every time he catches the bat when it emerges from its hiding place. And this is interesting. This is why I really wanted to highlight this article. Basil told CNN, "I learned how to build games at a boot camp. Now I build to keep me busy when I am bored." In March, his father signed him up for a 5-day boot camp for children aged 5 to 15. The camp, organized by CodeFest International, was put in place to give children like Basil access to emerging technologies like robotics and virtual reality. Growing up, he used to play a lot of mobile games. According to his father, "I bought him a tablet when he was 4 years old because I saw he was always grabbing phones to play games with. He played Candy Crush and Temple Run a lot, but his interest in creating his games grew at age 7 after he got scolded for spending all day playing on the phone. Apparently, there was one day he was on the tablet as usual. He was so carried away with the game he was playing that I got upset with him." According to his father, "Out of annoyance, I said to him, 'You're always playing games. Can't you think about building your own games so others can play yours too?' I was angry when I said it, and I didn't know he'd actually take it seriously." So, since then, he's actively showed an interest in learning how to make his own games, prompting his parents to buy him a laptop and register him to learn the first steps of building games. He wants to be a scientist in the future, titles his games based on what they are about. The games are still in a raw form and can currently only be accessed by computers that have Scratch 2 installed. But according to his father, one of them, titled Frog Attack, will be available to the public on Google Play Store this August. Africa has the largest youth population in the world, and, like Basil, this population is taking the lead when it comes to innovation on the continent. Two Nigerian 12-year-olds were recently celebrated for using codes to build robots to sort out their house chores. In May, Team Acrobat, a Ghanaian all-girls high school team, won the 2019 RoboFest competition by programming robots to stack boxes. So this is definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. It's exciting to see people who, inadvertently encourage their children, in this case a 9-year-old, to build games instead of play them. And that's kind of what I like about Minecraft. And I know for as much as you can say, "You thought you said Minecraft sucks and Notch could go suck one." Well, he has a margarita and he's probably on his private island, so he's probably fine right now. Outside of that, you want to know what Minecraft brought to the table? The availability for young kids to learn coding, in a really visual, understandable, easy, simple way. I mean, you should see some of the creations that were built on Minecraft, and it's one of the reasons why I like Minecraft and still do to a certain extent. It's always going to be, a part of me because it just felt so satisfying. But yeah, I'm excited to see, young kids taking the lead when it comes to getting an interest in coding and understanding stuff, because we need more of those people. We need them to deal with whatever might come up in the future. Who knows? We shall find out. Alright, and finally we got some gaming news for you guys. For those of you interested in World of Warcraft Classic, it is getting one more test before launch. It's set to fling players back in time to when WoW was just a wee baby MMO at the start of its long journey later this month. Before that, however, there's one last test to make sure everything is running smoothly. The pre-launch test will start tomorrow, August 8th at 7 p.m. or 11 a.m. Pacific, and will run until Friday. Blizzard will only be actively monitoring the test for the first 2 hours, however, so it wants as many players to jump in as possible right at the start. Now, if you haven't already, you can download Classic from battle.net and connect it to your WoW account. When Classic launches, you won't be getting any additional requirements then. As long as you're a subscriber, you get access to the old version of WoW. And, wow. If you haven't been playing it, there's a lot of fond memories that Vanilla brought to the table. So, in case you happen to miss the test, don't worry. World of Warcraft Classic is due out in August 27th. As for the special feature I was talking about, they're actually introducing a tool to help you find people that you used to play with back. Okay, if you haven't played World of Warcraft in a long time, or you haven't talked to somebody since the olden days, they're actually trying to come out with a tool. We'll see how well it goes to help you find and reconnect with those players. So for me, that'd be actually interesting. There's like 2 or 3 people that I really hung out with a lot when I played World of Warcraft back in the day. When I had time, those were like the main 2 or 3 people that I played with all the time. We chatted all the time, and I started to find out, you know what? Not everybody that you play with online is a complete stranger and, you know, a troll. Some of them are actually pretty nice. And that's kind of how I got my start into at least online gaming, thanks to, well, World of Warcraft. So, I don't know. What do you guys think of this feature? Let me know down in the comments if you're going to be playing Classic and what your thoughts are going forward. Can't wait. Coming out later this month. And with that, that wraps up this episode of the Latest in Tech News. Thanks for tuning in. New episodes every weekday. Latest in Tech News can be found on every major platform, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, and more. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to let us know by clicking that like button and by leaving a comment. If you're watching the video at least, and if you're listening to the audio version, I'm looking at a stupid fly. It's still flying around. Don't worry, I'm going to get them right after I finish recording the button. So, if you're listening via the podcast, be sure to go give us a review out on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Be sure to double check that you are subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode. I'm your host, Taylor Merrick, and remember, for the latest in tech, gadget, and gaming news, visit TechNewsGadget.net. Pretty much, keep being awesome, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side. Get over here, you stupid fuck!